my privilege to be welcoming all of you to another weekly webinar. We've got a bunch of teachers from around Australia and from Canada with us live at the moment, and I'm really pleased to be introducing you to Colleen. Let's just open up your camera now, Colleen, so we can introduce you properly before we get formally started on this. Colleen, just tell us quickly where you're from and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm from the Hills Christian Community School, a Christian school in Verdun, South Australia. I'm the leader of digital innovation here, and I teach from reception to Year 10 digital technology standalone lessons.
And a very busy lady. Let's have a look at our theme for today. Nature Nurture Network, amplifying creativity with Adobe for a sustainable future. What a fantastic title. Before we get started into it properly, Colleen, let's start our formal introduction. Thank you for joining this weekly webinar series from the ANZ Adobe Education Team. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we gather and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We honour the wisdom, knowledge and artistic expressions that Indigenous communities have shared with the world. Their contributions to the arts and education continue to inspire and enrich our lives. Through creativity and education, we strive to build a future where all voices are heard and celebrated. Whether you're just getting started or looking to deepen your skills, these sessions aim to provide hands-on tips, classroom examples, and expert insights to help teachers make the most of Adobe's powerful creativity tools. What an amazing voiceover artist that person is. Hey, Colleen, put your camera on for us. And before we jump into what you've got to present, this is one of many Wednesday webinars that we do. We try to run them at the first 6 weeks of every term, because we know teachers get extra busy in the last few weeks of every term. So we tend to find that it's better to use the first 6 weeks. And that's the Australian term. We've got some people who are from international using different terms as well. But what I'd like to do just really quickly is I want to jump into the actual website, because I'm not sure if you're familiar. Most of you who are with us regularly would already know that you can look back at all the recordings. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the last section of this site, and you can see all of the webinars that we've run this year from the 5th of February right through to last week's on the 15th of October. You can see the topics, you can see the recording button, and that's the way to get into it and have a look. And some of these topics are fantastic. Like, for instance, Colleen, we were having a quick chat beforehand about Adobe Express Classrooms. We introduced it last week. We actually introduced it at our conference, which we'll talk about in a second too. But you have had a bit of a play with it, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. And I have to say, it's exceptionally user-friendly. To be able to establish classes, very simple, assign tasks, assign websites, whatever format you're looking for. The kids can join with a code. They're straight in once they're logged in, and I can see what they're doing in action. So I've actually started to advertise it to our teachers, and I'm going to start coaching them in how to set it up for different purposes. It's just incredible, my experience so far.
Good to hear. And it's always great to get that feedback from classroom teachers in the schools, because it's a fairly new product. We're not expecting it to be amazingly used, because we're at the last stages of the year as the year is winding down academically. But if you can start getting used to it for next year, and to start the year with a bang with all of your classes using Adobe Express Classrooms, and most importantly, as Colleen has done, share it with your colleagues, that would be just fantastic. The other thing that Colleen's going to be talking about today is a little bit about Adobe Substance. And you can see on the 6th of August, we had a whole webinar introducing Adobe Substance. So if you want to find out more about these new tools that have come into the Creative Cloud for K-12, that link would be fantastic for you. And there's a whole bunch of other topics that might interest you. Also note the 2024, we called them Wednesday webinars then, because most of them were on a Wednesday, like they are this year. They're all available in that button to be archived as well. Jumping back to these slides, we had our conference in September. Many of you were involved in that. We had over 4,500 teachers show interest in the conference, which was just amazing. And lots of teachers are jumping into the conference site still to have a look at the recordings. And just to let you know how that works, let me jump into the conference site now, which was the site to go in to register for the events that you wanted to go to. And now as we scroll through it, you can see it's exactly the same site, but this time to go and look at the recordings. So that amazing opening video that I created for the conference is available for you there. All the recordings of our plenary sessions, our keynote sessions, and the workshops. Now I'm specifically scrolling through to find Ben Eel's name because he's with us live at the moment. And there he is. Ben, put your camera on, mate. Let's do a quick promo for your session. Yours was a higher ed session, higher ed workshop, engaging adults with Adobe Express and other tools with Ben Eels. Ben, what can you say to promote your session?
Look, you know, if you watch it, your muscles will get bigger, your hair will get shinier. No, I'm a TAFE teacher and learning content developer, so it's got that in mind of how you can use some Adobe tools to build resources from the stuff you're already getting. You know, your team's recordings, photos you've taken, that kind of stuff.
And even though it's focused on higher ed, there's a lot of relevant content there for K-12 teachers as well, which I just love. So thank you, Ben. And while you're there, Ben, open up your microphone, do a quick promo for your YouTube show with Aaron Rathke.
Well, the viewership has gone through the roof. It's on Aaron's YouTube channel. It's called Create, Share, Learn. I just co-host. Aaron is the brains behind it all and the driving force. We had an amazing first guest on, Dr. Tim. So yes, he's brought all the viewers to the yard, which has been really good. We get on the first Saturday night of every month once the kids are in bed, and we just talk about the month that is creativity. Cool features, things we like, things we don't like, that kind of thing. So
it's a great show. So that's Create, Share, Learn. Look it up on YouTube or look up Aaron Rathke's name on YouTube and you'll find that show. Thank you, Ben. Much appreciated. Last thing from me is our newsletter. Just to remind you that the newsletter is a great way of just catching up with tips and tricks and ideas and new features, lots of connections with our global Adobe Education Team and all the incredible resources that they share. I tend to filter them so that they're more focused internationally rather than US. So it's not everything that they do, but a lot of the best stuff that they do you can see in our newsletter, adobeapacedu.com. I'll be sharing some of those links during the session, but right now, let's hand it over to Colleen. I'm going to stop sharing now, Colleen. I'll get you to do whatever you need to do, and I'll just be in the background here to help support you. All the best. Over to you.
Thank you very much, mate. Just going to share my screen. Okay, can you all see that okay?
Looking good.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. It's going to be a bit of cognitive overload. I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff, so I'll try and keep it slow, but if there's anything that sparks your interest throughout my presentation, please connect. There's a global initiative that I'm hoping to establish. So again, if there's anything that sparks your interest, let me know. Well, I've already had an introduction, so I'm going to skip the first slide and just get straight into it. The learning objectives for today's session is to see how Adobe Express tools grow creativity across year levels, explore Express, Premiere Pro and Substance 3D in student-designed VR tours, and learn how AI and research can track and inspire creativity, and finally connect nature, science and storytelling through digital content creation. So when I mention nature, we have a very unique school here in the hills. We have 9 acres of nature space, and the Onkaparinga Valley River flows directly through our school grounds, which opens up a lot of scope for scientific inquiry, connecting the biological sciences. Now, being a Digitech teacher, I thought to myself a little while ago, how on earth could I blend the two realms and make authentic connections between digital systems and natural systems? So over a few years, I remapped the digital technologies curriculum to make authentic connections back to nature. So the big problem that we have at the moment is the disconnection paradox. Screen time balance, digital dependence is a key concern. Digital fluency is rising, but ecological literacy is fading. So we're preparing the digital natives, but not necessarily planet stewards. And so there was a need for a scalable model for inclusion and connection. Now, this curriculum managed to get a lot of attention because beyond just taking digital tools out into nature, we're getting kids to reconnect with nature by making really authentic connections between digital systems and natural systems. And nature is also our muse for digital sustainable solutions. And the big premise behind this is big tech companies have always looked to nature to optimize. So why wouldn't we be teaching our youngest learners to do the same? I'm just trying to give a bit of context to what our curriculum scope and sequence looks like from reception right through to year 10, and how we then thread in Adobe tools throughout all the different projects we're doing in upper primary and secondary. So once the curriculum was established, we set up a STEM centre, and it's also very unique. It's an old farmhouse that's been done up, and it's really the showcase of our curriculum. We've got an immersive room, we've got our AR sandbox, and all the tools are designed to connect to curriculum. And it's been a really fun journey establishing this centre. We get multiple schools coming out to visit all the time and share the work that we're doing. But here's just a couple of examples from our curriculum to give you an idea of what I mean when I'm saying we make authentic connections. When we're looking at internet network routers, we're also looking at the mycorrhizal that goes through tree network systems. Kids will showcase their knowledge and understanding using XR technologies. We thread in a lot of AI tools and VR, which I'm going to deep dive into as well. So they'll simulate the tree network nutrient exchange, for example. And one thing I noticed from this unit every year, and this is a very real photo, I'll take them out into nature and we'll look for the mother tree or the hub tree. And this happens every year. Children cuddle the tree. I am creating a generation of tree huggers, which is what we're really hoping that this curriculum will do. Reconnect kids back to nature. And it's just a beautiful thing to see every year. We connect animal navigation systems and GPS systems. Kids are using nature as their muse, looking at biomimicry. And my work really just focuses on connecting the natural and the digital systems and helping them to understand that creativity isn't just an art, it's a problem solving, it's stewardship and self-expression. So Adobe Express in action in upper primary. What does that look like in our context? At the moment, we are working on a seeds project where students are designing and harvesting seeds that are endangered, and we are creating a virtual museum. And within that, we've got an SEM microscope where we're deep diving into each of the seeds, different stages of development of the different plants. And this is where the Adobe tools come in. So with our upper primary students who are developing this seed museum, with Green Adelaide's taken a lot of interest as well, and we're going to be sharing the work with them. But they're able to showcase their knowledge and understanding through Express web pages and posters, but in particular, provenance data cards they were able to establish and bring into the museums. We were able to hyperlink their journeys within there as well. So what we really love about Adobe tools and always have is the filters in Express. So when we're AI generating any images, we just know it's going to prevent any unwanted or inappropriate imagery. And it lets our learners explore creativity and data storytelling ethically while building the digital portfolios, showing the process, growth and purpose of their learning. Then, of course, the AI landscape began, and that really shook up our curriculum and everything that we're doing in this space. So we aim to build an AI digital literacy scope and sequence that connects back to nature, looking at data connections, data collection in early years and smart systems, of course, connecting with nature. When we're looking at machine learning, we're cross-comparing the swarm systems in nature. Students are then simulating swarm behaviours using codable drones. So I hope that gives just a bit of an idea of our unique program we've got here at Hills. In middle school, we are using AI tools for innovation, AI 360 environments, AI avatars embedded within tours. So across the board, there's different purposes for how we integrate AI tools. So our philosophical lens is students need to use AI to think more, not less, and educators need to use AI to amplify great practice, not dilute it. So VR is a space we have deep dived into, and Adobe tools in secondary VR tours include Express, Photoshop, Premiere Pro has just been outstanding. Audition, and we're dabbling with Substance at the moment. Our work in the VR space began with UniSA and Dr. Paul Unsworth, who came in to teach our Year 9s how they could create student-designed VR tours. Now, I was never a big VR fan. I always thought, you can go on Google Earth and go visit places around the globe. But he really changed my lens on that. He said, Colleen, when students are designing the tours for a purpose, you get a whole different output in what you can do in the VR space. So he came in each week, worked with our students, and we started doing some research together on engagement in the VR space. And
hey, Colleen, sorry to interrupt. Can you go back one slide for us?
Yep.
I need to ask. Just about every student that you've had has had a smiley face where their face has been identified, except for that one student in that photo on the left. It's no smiley face. What does that mean?
Oh no! It means I'll need to get permissions before it's published, Tim. I missed that one. But I'll be sure to do that, if that's okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries at all. Thanks for picking up on that, mate. So yeah, we started research into engagement and looking at how VR tours can support an emotional regulation. But student design tours require a lot of project management and connecting with industry. So as students work in these roles, they work as model makers, VR content creators, camera operators, content organisers, scientists and researchers. We're mapping projects, and Dr. Paul was a huge fan of Adobe tools. He said, you've got to let kids be themselves when they're creating VR tours. It's really, really important that they're able to show their creativity and just be themselves, and introduce them to a range of different Adobe tools that they could use. Our very first tour that we created was a river restoration tour. Our groundsmen have got a 10-year project on the Onkaparinga Valley River that runs through our school, and the students were capturing the science, the problems along the Onkaparinga Valley River, and bringing that into a VR tour for a purpose to tell a story. And that's now getting shared through Edge VR around Australia so that others can learn, which is what all of our VR tours have now become. We capture the restoration efforts the students are doing along the river, and that's where we bring in Premiere Pro. So it has just been fantastic for being able to cut and do basic editing of 360 video and 360 images, adding motion graphic templates, transitions and titles, adding and managing audio as well. But the file management behind it, the content creators, students who were assigned those roles, were the ones that had to gather all the footage, all of the 3D models, all of the 360 videos, and sort and organise them for our students who were the content creators. And that was really powerful, because that's what has to be done in industry. We also had the UniSA STEM team come out and teach the students how to use Premiere Pro. I had never used it before, but he was able to come in, teach our Year 10s, and then they were able to teach me. And it has just been our go-to tool whenever we are cutting, splicing, adding audio to our VR tours.
I might just add there, Colleen, that a lot of people don't realise that Premiere Pro actually does do 360. So if you do have a 360 camera or a drone with a 360 camera and you're capturing all that 360 content, you can use Premiere Pro, and it's not that much more difficult to do a 360 clip as it is to do a normal 2D clip. So thanks for pointing that out. It's been a while since we've promoted the 360 side of Premiere Pro.
Yeah, no worries at all. And we were looking for a tool, and that's where it was recommended through UniSA too. They said it's just the best for it, and it has just become the tool that we use on the regular now. So in the end, we've got a web-based tour and a tour that can be shown through headsets. These students, of course, can be shown. They've got permissions for their VR tour. But working with industries and mapping all the content, there's a lot of content you need to pull together for a VR tour, and it was just exceptionally powerful. So when they're editing and using tools like this, they're not just editing, they're reflecting on the creative decision making and the changes they need to make for audience impact. That was a huge part of the process, is pulling it all together, and even considering things like privacy and masking faces in 360 can be really hard without tools like Premiere Pro. In that, we started also working on bringing in AI avatars. So one of the biggest problems we had along the Onkaparinga Valley River was the rabbit problem. And so initially we brought in 2D avatars that the students had to train, which became a form of assessment in its own right. And they had to AI generate the hair care bunny who could speak about the rabbit problem along the Onkaparinga Valley River. They were bringing in stop motions from our AR sandbox, talking about the destruction that the rabbits cause. And from there, as Dr. Paul said, we want you to be creative. So students had to create wanted posters for the rabbit capture and just had a lot of fun with this, which we brought into our VR tours as part of the process. And I just want to say that one of the biggest things I've found with Adobe tools is the kids can have different entry points. So there is choice if they want to use Photoshop and really advance what they're doing, or if they want to enter just with Express to get a feel for it. There seems to be just so many tools where there are multiple entry points, and choice is so important when we are building kids' digital literacy. We then started working with a Belgium developer, working with 3D AI avatars in mixed reality. So we were training the AI avatars that we could bring them out right next to our Onkaparinga Valley River, and they could speak to the restoration efforts that we were doing along our river. So that was a lot of fun, and it's actually quite crazy. This is a terrible video of it in action. I probably should have caught it in the headset rather than standalone, but hopefully you can hear the sound.
River restoration projects aim to improve health.
So the students can design avatars. They stand in the room with you. They're kind of creepy to begin with, but we had a lot of play with how students could use these tools and embed them into our VR tours. So you can have an expert agent. So tours for a purpose, we're looking at life on land, the depths, 360 cameras into the river, drones over the river, capturing so much content to be able to bring into the VR tour. And within that, our scientists, acting in their science roles, had to look at the pH levels and the turbidity levels from our local river, which had been collected by our science teacher over the last few years. They had to analyse it, create websites, and talk about why they thought the changes were happening. We found out that it was linked to the local wineries, that the changes would happen when they were harvesting. So they were able to show all that science and create a website, which we could also embed into the tours as well. So we've been doing research with UniSA on AI and creativity, measuring creativity without limiting it with Dr. David Crockley. So Dr. David Crockley is just a fantastic advocate for creativity and research. He's written multiple books about creativity, and his action research that he's doing with us at the moment really started with his CSDS Creative Solutions Diagnostic Scale, which is primarily a really advanced rubric for measuring creativity from multiple different levels. And from that research, he then created a GPT, which was able to give the students feedback on their ideas against the scale, and also give them ideas for iteration against Genesis and a range of other areas. And he wanted me to trial it with the students. So we've been working through a process where we're gathering data for him to see how the students can work with AI, kind of like an end user, I guess you could say, and get feedback and even upload images of their posters or their logos. So I'm going to just have a quick look at the research we've been doing with Dr. Crockley. At the moment, we're getting consistent results, which is really fantastic, and he's very excited about. I'm still trying to understand it, but that's okay. I'm just providing the data at the moment. And our U9s, primarily, they'll use AI tools to design. They'll do the planning. It will give them feedback. They're able to reflect on it, remix it, get more feedback from the AI creativity calculator. But each creative decision is about sound choice, texture, layout, and that becomes data in a creativity growth model that we're exploring with our Year 9s at the moment, who are also involved in a global case study where they're looking to share the students' work from this action research. So students act like a VR company when they come in. They have an entry routine and clock-ins and check-ins. I act like their scrum master. We're working in an agile methodology kind of process at the moment. And one of the tours they did was a Bridging Generations VR tour. And again, bringing in a range of websites, working in a feedback loop cycle, working in sprints, and getting feedback from our end users. But one of our end users is the creativity calculator as well. So one of the most recent projects they did was how can virtual reality be used to enhance early years learning education by integrating nature, education, Indigenous knowledge, and sustainable practices. The first step in Sprint 1 was to design logos for their VR company, which we fed into the creativity calculator, kept getting feedback, iterating our designs, just to get a feel for the calculator, and so they were understanding what it was able to produce as well. If they wanted to take it further, they could use Adobe Illustrator if they really wanted to extend themselves as well, to design their logos. And from there, we printed logos into their different project management roles for the VR tours. So the creativity calculator feedback really looks at novelty, relevance and effectiveness. How well does it achieve its purpose? Elegance, how well refined, balanced or cohesive is it? This feedback against using Adobe tools has just been absolutely fantastic. And the fact that they can upload their designs and ask for targeted feedback has just been really, really interesting as the students go. It gives them a rich amount of information, but they can choose what element they want to adopt and make changes and then feed back to the calculator through each sprint. So yeah, our goal is to gain insight into how AI and digital media like Adobe Express, Premiere Pro and Substance can enhance measurable creativity across the stages of the design process. And Dr. Cropley is measuring the development and expression of creativity as students engage with real-world technology-rich design challenges. Capturing how their thinking evolves has been really interesting as well. And we're seeing them engage with it more deeply each week. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on how that all goes, but so far we're getting some great results. And really the goal is creative communication and iteration. It's not replacing creativity. We're hoping to reveal it and have students understand that there's multiple areas of creativity. It's not just a light switch. Within the sprint planning, we use AI tools to storyboard. So there's a lot of literacy involved in this as well. And then they have to create posters, whether we're doing VR game design or whatever our purpose is for our projects. We're creating posters to advertise. We're feeding those into the calculator and getting feedback as well. We are AI generating 360 environments, which just opens up so much scope for what we can create. I'm going to skip past this slide because I don't want to go too long. We're AI generating 3D assets to bring in as well for immersive storytelling. And this is where, oopsies, this is where Adobe tools have been a lot of fun. So we are AI generating different models, 3D assets that we want to bring into tours. And then we're using Adobe Substance 3D Painter. We've only been dabbling with that for now as we're starting to all get our heads around it. I was going to have a video of this student speaking to it, but I didn't get permissions in time. And he was just saying the level of depth you can go to by either developing a model in Blender and bringing it in and painting and texturizing is just unreal. His mind was blown. And when we're learning a tool together, I see myself as a facilitator. I don't see myself as a knower of all tools. That would be impossible across all the multiple year levels. But when you're doing it with the students and you let them just play, oh, they will teach you so much, as we all know, and they will teach each other, and you go on the journey with them. And I think that's a powerful process just on its own.
Colleen, it's probably worth mentioning, I'm sure you already know this, but the Substance tools are exactly the same tools that Marvel Studios use to texture their CGI monsters and their characters. And when the kids find out that, wow, they're using exactly the same tool that's being used by Hollywood to produce that. That's a really engaging factor.
You know, and it's so important to connect them to industry. And that's something I did actually mention to them, and they are blown away by that. They really love the fact that I'm learning industry level kind of tools, which will serve them in the future for sure. So the SEED project that I was talking about earlier, the SEED Museum, we are LiDAR scanning, we are AI generating, and then we're playing with these tools to create the texture and try and recreate from the real image if we can. That's the challenge I've kind of set them at the moment. And they're having a lot of fun playing with that. And then, of course, these 3D models get brought into our VR tours. We're hoping to move into dabbling with playing with Substance 3D Modeler in VR. I think it would just be fantastic for students who struggle with 2D to 3D translations on screens. Haven't had a play with it yet, but it looks really interesting. And it looks like you can start from just having a play with building and molding. Is that right, Tim?
That is correct. I haven't had a good play with it myself because the whole VR experience does require a Windows machine. So if you're a Mac school, and I'm a Mac user, I don't have access to the 3, but I've seen it being used when you're actually modeling in a VR headset, and it's quite unique and a different way of texturally and kinesthetically building whatever you're creating, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm keen to have a play. So along the way, we work with a ton of experts. They feed into the tours. We are interviewing in 360. They become part of our tours. We've also got experts coming in to support students in the content that's going into the VR tours. And finally, we've got our audio overlays, which take a lot of work when we're recording outside. You've got the wind blowing, you've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And again, different entry points. So Adobe Podcast, some students feel really comfortable with that. Moving on to Audition, again, you've just got choice there, and that's been fantastic to be able to create just really solid audio overlays for each scene of the VR tour, which is a lot of work. And then again, we've got our stakeholders who are investing in these tours, so the kids are aware of that, you know, they are giving the feedback as well, and our end users. And in the end, we've got a tour that is able to be shared and showcased through EdgeVR across Australia, and the kids are really proud, and they're proud that it's able to be viewed by all different schools and anyone who's keen to see them. And now, one of the biggest things we're most excited about is we have been doing cross-cultural VR exchanges with Dr. Paul has become the CEO of Ngunjara College in Northern Territory, and he's brought VR to their school context. We've created cross-cultural pen pal exchanges. They have Uluru in their backyard. We've got the river in ours. Our students are capturing the ecology of our environment, being on country. His students are doing the same. And when we share our VR tours, which can be web-based or in the headset, we're able to actually step into each other's worlds in 360, which is just crazy. And within that, we are bringing in AI elements as well. Of course, Dr. Paul's bringing in the Adobe tools on his end, but they're just starting slowly at the moment. We're creating AI avatars
Hi,
of educators.
I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the honorable teacher at Ngunjara College.
And now we've started to branch out. We're working with a university in South Korea who's going to be creating VR tours with us, a school in New Zealand who's got a garden to kitchen program like we do here, so we're going to be sharing that. And then a school in Japan where we're going to be having our students practice their Japanese in VR, and then their students practice their English. So we're hoping to branch this. If anyone's interested, Canadian teacher potentially, we would love to kind of get this happening really broadly and yeah, get students sharing in 360 and bringing in the creative content. And finally, we create VR tours for sports days for kids who might be nervous to go to sports days. They can sit safely at our school. They're worried about the big arena it's going to be held in. It's been really supportive for our neurodiverse learners as well. And we have training VR tours that our digital leaders create. And really what we're hoping to do is share with schools. So we host a Tech for Sustainability Day every year where the kids come in, they're the experts, they're teaching each other through multiple workshops, and industry experts come in and learn from the students. And that's just been a really powerful event that we've held every year. Where the kids are able to have conversations with industry, and yeah, it's just been a really fun thing to organise. And so yeah, just hoping to scale and share what we're doing and bringing in a wealth of tools to really amplify what we're doing. So the outcomes, students explore choice through multiple Adobe tool entry points, building ownership and creativity. Teachers act as facilitators and co-learners, creating space to play, explore and grow together. And the learning is immersive and measurable, hopefully, with the creativity tracked through research and reflection. So students share their skills to bridge the digital divide, empowering others through storytelling and technology. Whew, I know this is a lot, guys, but we're hoping to redefine how XR tools and AI tools alongside creative tools are used in education and reconnect students with the natural world by building strong digital literacy, creativity, and ethical technology skills. And that is me, Tim. I know that was a lot.
No, you've done so well. That's incredible. That's amazing. And I'm so glad you're able to capture all of those facets into this one presentation. I'm blown away, Colleen. It's one of the most impressive set of activities I've seen a school do that incorporates not just the Adobe factor, but the whole creativity side, the links with industry, the links with higher education. You've captured it all. I'm going to be sharing this recording to lots of teachers, and particularly international teachers, and the Adobe Global Education Team will be fascinated to know how our tools are being used in such an amazing way. I've got a question for you. There might be some other questions that'll come into the chat, so this is a good opportunity now if those people who are with us live want to throw in a question or two. But what I find is every so often you've got schools that have got teachers like yourself who are really engaged and want to change the world and want to engage their students, and you've got all these ideas, and what you've been able to do is incredible. But I often find that teachers can't get past first base because they're stuck in a system that is so focused on the traditional curriculum. How do you overcome those hurdles? For instance, you want to do this amazing activity, but one teacher says, oh, sorry, we can't do that because that's when we've set a maths test for that day, so therefore those students can't be involved. And suddenly you're hitting all those roadblocks. How have you overcome those curriculum roadblocks?
Well, again, the tools need to be accessible. And so when you've got things like Adobe Express, they can see where it fits with what they're trying to achieve. It's really about listening, as we all know. What are you trying to achieve? What accessible tools are there? Starting in those baby steps. You know, I used to come in with, oh, there's this incredible tool you can use, but I was just pitching it way up here. And with overload and exhaustion and a full timetable, I recognize that you have to start with baby steps, accessible tools, micro wins. And in the VR space, it's about them telling a story. So if they've got a story to tell and you're able to capture that, the buy-in is then suddenly there, which is a part of just that as an example. But again, it's the micro wins, it's the baby steps, it's finding their purpose, what they're trying to achieve, and aligning that tool that they need and building their digital literacy with it. I guess that's the best I can answer that. It's been my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. How long has it taken you to get to this point?
Oh, I started building the curriculum about 3 years ago, and then it was just rapid. It was rapid, and I've loved every minute of it. It's my passion space, and it's my hobby. So yeah, about 3 years. It's just gone very quickly.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've achieved a lot in those 3 years, and those connections you've made with industry and higher ed are so valuable. Ben's got a question which I think you've already answered. He says, how do you encourage people to start if they are new to tech and are worried about workload? What's an easy win to start with?
Yeah, again, it's just finding an array of tools, free tools. We've tried to map out a ton of tools that are low cost. So when we do have schools come out to visit, we share our spreadsheet of the tools that we have. So cost is an important part. But again, it's about what they're trying to achieve and keeping it really simple. But you're not always going to have the wins. It can be really hard, and you can start a journey, and then it might fizzle out because of, much like the webinars finishing up in week 6 or 7. You know, there's going to be a point during the term where they're exhausted. Capturing them when they're fresh and excited. Oh, you know what? One big thing that I've found success with is we actually look at the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. And when I felt like I wasn't reaching teachers to be able to integrate tools with my vision, I actually asked every teacher across our school what digital tools they were using and what they were most passionate about. And each of them shared different ways they were using different tools that they personally were passionate about. And then I gave a big keynote to our staff about the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai, finding your passion space. And I shared every single teacher and what they are already using, so that almost their little micro examples from their classroom became an educational tool for each other without me pushing anything on them. And that made them feel proud. And I said, you know, where your passion space is where you'll find the tools that align with what you want to do.
That's great. Tim Cosgrove is from Canada and he's made a comment here in the chat. I agree, the global education team would be interested in Colleen's presentation. So many creative possibilities. I've been inspired by the variety of Adobe tools in the learning process. So well done, Colleen. You have inspired teachers all over the world who are with us at the moment live, and many more who will be watching the recording. Are there any last minute things you want to share before we close this webinar?
Oh, look, I just want to say thank you to the Adobe team for being so considered, particularly in the AI space. You know, that's something I'm able to speak to my students about every year, is being able to use reputable tools that protect their privacy, you know, aren't going to generate inappropriate content. So, yeah, I guess just a big thank you. And for all the available tutorials that are online. If you're wanting to learn something, there is wealth of tutorials out there. You can find 60 on one particular thing you're trying to accomplish. So it's brilliant. I'm able to share those with the students, and that's really helpful.
That's great. Good advice. Thank you, Colleen. You're getting lots of thanks in the chat.
Awesome.
And those of you who are watching the recording, thank you so much for making the effort to watch it. I'm sure you've been inspired. Those of you who are with us live, really appreciate that you've made the time and effort to join us live. I'm just going to close the session by sharing my screen again, reminding you about the webinars and the next webinar. Let's have a quick look at what's happening next. Next week's on the 29th of October, linking Adobe Express with Photoshop for busy teachers. And a very famous presenter, you may have heard of him, named Dr. Tim Kitchen. Well worth watching. So folks, thanks again for joining us, and here is our closing clip. Thank you for being part of this webinar from the ANZ Adobe Education Team. While you complete the feedback form via this QR code or link, note that this weekly webinar series is just one of a range of free events and resources managed by the ANZ Adobe Education Team. More information is available on the ANZ Adobe for Education site via adobeanzedu.com. and more specifically for K-12 teachers via adobe.ly/ANZ-K12-PL. Thanks again for being involved in this webinar. We look forward to seeing you at the next event. Keep being creative.